Boring coffees. What do I mean by boring coffees? What's the real place of it in the specialty coffee world? That's what people want. They want it's a grown-up chocolate milk or cocoa. That's really what coffee is to a lot of people. That's easy and breezy and something that just like makes sense to you, and it is tasty. It's just delicious all the time. And that's all we really need and want. Fuck SCA or Specialty Coffee Association. Fuck that for now. You don't care about that. You care about We live right now. Okay. Stare then die. Stares and dies. It's medium roast, Honduras. More so the same. One of the things I did want to talk about to you, which I don't know if you feel this being the situation that you're in, but boring coffees. Boring coffees. What do I mean by boring coffees? I'm actually talking about like coffees that people actually gravitate to more than anything. You know, even though this Honduras coffee isn't what it was before, it still works. It's still interesting enough to where you're like, it is saying something to me. And a lot of times when you deal with like a basic coffee, it doesn't do that. It's just like one nutty is either a chocolatey type of coffee type of taste that people are more so kind of accustomed to when they're drinking coffee. And what's the real place of it in the specialty coffee world? I think that's where I want to like start this conversation from. And I know it can be very controversial when they say specialty coffee. I wonder what people really think about specialty coffee, or really what does that mean for people, you know, or is that just a moniker that people or roasters or the community, or not the community, but the main organization will like to praise and preach and all that. Those are some of the things that I'm thinking about right now as we're trying to really contemplate, as we're trying to understand the things that we are talking about. I wonder how many people really do care about Specialty Coffee Association. That'll probably be more topic for another day, probably next time. I think that's a good way to go about it. But what does that mean? What are these chocolatey, nutty notes of coffees, these Brazilians, these Mexican coffees, these coffees that for the most part doesn't have too much of a flavor to it? Because again, lately, the reason why I'm bringing this up, because lately that's what I've been drinking. I've been drinking a lot of darker roast Brazilian coffee, just kind of getting things ready to go for Amazon, playing around with the Mr. Coffee machine, and also seeing how these coffees really work. I probably did a little bit too early just because those coffees were relatively fresh, so you want to give it some time to really degas. But here's the thing about it: it's just like I don't think it matters that much. They taste the way they taste. I think they're really good coffees if you're adding something to them. Meaning that if you don't drink your coffee black, how do you enjoy it? Or how do you use it? How do you go about the whole thing? If you drink it black, you'll probably have it for like a day or two from time to time, but I think that's fine to have a rotation to where you do have different type of tasting coffees, something a little bit more fruity depending on the type of fruit that you may like on that coffee. I think that does add spice in something that you look forward to. Don't get me wrong, the place for these coffees are very instrumental, because still a lot of people do drink their coffees with creamer, with additives and stuff like that, and that's perfectly fine. And I think those coffees allow people to explore, to kind of, I think what I'm really trying to say here is that if we're talking about the whole specialty coffee thing, it's like, how special are they really? What do they do for people? And I think that's where we need to start this conversation, really. How important are those coffees to people? And I think they're very important because it's something familiar, something that's not offensive, something that they are used to what it may taste like and do for them. I think that's part of the things that we want in a coffee the most. And that's the thing that I'm really trying to understand, especially, getting comments from other people. It's like, what do you like about this particular coffee? What do you like about the coffee that you're actually currently drinking? Not about the brew method, nothing like that. But what does that coffee do for you? That's where I'm wondering about or thinking about, because again, I don't have those answers. A lot of times, me personally, I drink my coffee black. And at times at night, I'll drink a decaf and I'll have some creamer over it. And for me, for the most part, it doesn't necessarily matter if that coffee is a Honduras or a Brazilian coffee, especially when you mix it through and all that stuff with a sweet cream type of creamer. Takes over for the most part. It's a lot sweeter than a French press or a French creamer. But I guess what I'm saying here is that I don't think they're that much of a difference when you compare a person who has their coffee with additives between a Brazilian versus a Honduras. There is a difference, don't get me wrong, especially if it's roasted a little bit too light than your liking. And I think those other type of coffees that are not basic type of coffee, they do add some type of element to that mixed drink or additive drink, if that makes any sense. I don't know really where I'm going with this, but where does the boring coffees exist in your life? Fuck SCA or Specialty Coffee Association. Fuck that for now. You don't care about that. You care about your cup of coffee. You care about how it tastes. You care about how you enjoy it each and every day. How do you go about that? That's the question. That's the thing that I want to know. I just want to understand. I mean, sure, it'll be helpful, beneficial to me because people are very, what's the best word to say this? They're very objective. They're very matter of fact of this is the way I like things. This is the reason why I like it, you know? So how do you like coffee? What do you think about coffee? How do you go about this whole journey of do you like to drink that coffee like that all the time? I was talking to my brother's wife about this situation. She's from Denmark, and it's interesting kind of seeing her perspective on the whole coffee thing. Not specialty coffee, but just coffee, how coffee plays a role in her life. I'll talk to her more hopefully about it tomorrow. But the thing about it is that I think that's digestive issues from time to time. So she has oat milk and she drinks it with additives. And depending on the coffee, that's more so what she likes about that particular coffee that she has. And it's interesting and it's cool. And it's one of those things to where we're thinking about a lot of this stuff as we talk about people's daily ritual and how they go about enjoying their cup of coffee. But she's but she also told me, which again, I'll get more information from her in the next day or so, is that she can't drink it black, or she doesn't like to drink it black. So the way that coffee is actually roasted matters to her. And I don't think if that's the case too, you're caring about a coffee that's I guess a world-class standout in a black coffee type of situation. Again, I'm kind of all over the place here, but just hear me out and hopefully I'll get some answers from you as you think about this topic a little bit. Is that the boring coffees do play a significant part in this whole coffee world. They're, I believe, the backbone of the industry. That's what people care about. And especially since Brazil is the number one producer of coffee, a lot of those coffees are that way. I don't think there's probably just one that I actually just have just now. It does have more of a fruity type of taste compared to what you're used to in a Brazilian or a basic type of coffee. But for the most part, that's really the situation that you're looking at. That's the thing that you are trying to understand. That's the thing that I'm trying to understand. And I'm probably, again, psychoanalyzing this a little bit more than what people usually do. They just like what they like. You just make it and they just move on with their day. But I think there's more to that. I think there's more to just selecting a coffee and just letting it be what it be, right? I think you have a reason why you're selecting what you're selecting. And again, majority of the people that I do talk to about this, they don't care so much about the different ways of flavors that coffee can actually be possible, right? If that makes any sense. So yeah, that's more so the topic. That's more so the situation. That's more so something that I think about a lot of times about these boring coffees. It's where's the point of them? And the big point, I think, for these coffees it's the gateway drug. It's the thing that people gravitate to. That's the thing that they use majority of the time, especially during the week. Probably on the weekend, they'll probably want to spice it up from time to time. Probably have a latte or different type of coffee that has a different type of taste. I think that's part of it. I think that's something that we have to realize is that majority of the people do like these simple, not offensive coffees that does their job well all the time. Not like sometimes, like this coffee that I'm drinking right now. This Honduras coffee that's like, it's kind of, I wouldn't say spicy. It has a little bit more character. It does have chocolate notes, but it does have like a grapefruity type of finish on it right now. I think I more so brewed it fine. But what else can it do for people? What else can these coffees do for it? And it's probably that's all they needed or wanted to do. That's the thing I need to really understand or just really accept that that's all they want. I think I realized that too a while ago, really a lot of years ago, is that as much as I was geeking out and loving these coffees and seeing what they're all about, people still gravitated to the Brazilians, to the basic coffees, probably something that tasted like a peanut butter, things that are like warm and thoughtful. That's what people want. They want, it's a grown-up chocolate milk or cocoa. That's really what coffee is to a lot of people, which is perfectly fine. There are times where you can really find the magic of these coffees. You truly, really can. But if you're just trying to find something that just works for you all the time, that's easy and breezy and something that just like makes sense to you and something to the point to where it is tasty, it's just delicious all the time, then that's all we really need and want. That's what I got for you. Talk to you later. Bye.